Okay, so there was a new interview with Eurogamer and Telltale's Job J. Stauffer talking about their future endeavors and their current projects as well as their past projects. His little snippet of things like Job actually saying that Tales from the Borderlands actually sold very nicely from what he says, but that isn't what Nick Herman said in his piece of the story. So it might just be Telltale's PR jargon there, but I'm not entirely sure. And then of course he talks about Wolf Among Us, how they won't continue off of what happened in the first season, going some more onto that. If you guys want to see all the information in this article, it will be down in the description box below. But let's get into the biggest thing from this article. Game of Thrones. We haven't heard anything from Game of Thrones by Telltale in forever, ever since they announced Season 2, or just said Season 2 is coming out in an interview in 2015. We haven't heard a thing about it. We haven't heard a single advertisement for it. We haven't heard, any kind of teasers, sneak peeks, or anything. It wasn't even in the 2017 Telltale video at all. So the fans were wondering, Telltale, what's going on? Where's Game of Thrones? And why have you been so quiet about it? And this interview pretty much just clears everything up. Let's go ahead and go into what he asked. So he says, Wolf Among Us in the back half of next year. Will that be alongside Game of Thrones? And then Job responds with, no. Not long after the conclusion of the first season, we said we would be continuing. And we had designs on the future of Telltale's Game of Thrones. Right now, that is on hold. We haven't announced it, which does not mean it's never coming. But I think right now we're anxious to get back into Wolf, Walking Dead, and Batman and see where things go with the narrative of the Game of Thrones show before we really come back to the table with something we're really excited about. And then he goes ahead and says, so you'll be keeping an eye out on that before making any decision. And then he says, right now we're back into being huge Game of Thrones fans. So for us to say what will be the best follow-up to that first season and when it's going to happen is too soon to say. So here it is. He says that Game of Thrones is put on hold because of the TV show. Now, this isn't really too surprising because as of right now, the TV show, not gonna spoil it for you. If you haven't watched it, go watch it, but I won't say anything. But pretty much the show took a twist, if you can say that much, to where the Foresters pretty much have the advantage in what seems like plot. Now, if they went ahead and made season 2 right now, there would kind of be plot holes, to be honest, and for that to happen would be unfortunate. So waiting to see how the Game of Thrones show actually ends or how it turns out is the better option to see how to make a better story, because the show is kind of just getting to a point where things are getting really, really, really big, and it kind of involves House Forrester too because of how they're position throughout Westeros. So seeing that it's actually put on hold because of the show isn't really too surprising for me. I mean, it happens to various material that uses a source material that's not their own IP. So waiting for their source material to go ahead and update, get some more chapters out. Pretty much what happens in the show can affect House Forrester, and if something changes in the show, that could actually bring in some plot holes from Telltale, and that could actually not be a pretty good time. So waiting for them to observe the show and kind of just piece together everything with House Forrester, House Stark, everything else would be the better option for everything. So what do you guys think about Game of Thrones being put on hold? Is it a bad idea? Is it good? I personally think that, I think personally that it's actually a good thing, because personally for me, I watched the show and I would love to see how House Forrester can be involved with whatever's happening in Westeros, but I also want them to have their own story. Feel like they're actually present in the whole Game of Thrones universe, if you know what I mean. But I think that, piecing them into each event, like of course, Mira being at Joffrey's poisoning was pretty cool. She wasn't really right in the center of it. And then, of course, Garrett and Lord Forrester being at the Red Wedding on the outside was pretty damn cool as well. So maybe just adding things like that, just key story features, and having maybe a Forrester be present, that would be a bit too weird, kind of. But, You know, having them actually know about these things and reference them is really cool, because us show watchers will know what's going on. For example, you know, I can't really say, oh, never mind, spoilers. Oh, you almost got spoiled. I forgot to mention this, but of course HBO's Game of Thrones Season 7 concluded with its final 7th episode this week. So Game of Thrones Season 8 isn't planned to air until next year if we're lucky. Then if not, I think it's kind of more geared towards 2019. So the final season will of course have 6 episodes, and it isn't really planned to release until 2019, which is massively unfortunate because, you know, I gotta wait a whole extra year for the episode, like a year on top of that, and then, yo, like, it's crazy. Anyways, pretty much, so Game of Thrones Season 8 isn't really planned to air until 2019, I think. And then, for the most part, Telltale's slate is pretty much full for next year. Yeah, they had The Walking Dead Season 4 and Wolf Among Us Season 2. And they confirmed that, of course, Game of Thrones Season 2 is not coming out in 2018. Well, they want to wait for the show to go ahead and release more details or more material so they can go ahead and make their story. So the show isn't really planned until 2019 to release in Game of Thrones, and then Telltale will go ahead and go on to making Game of Thrones Season 2. So we could see it late 2019 if we're lucky. If not, then I guess early 2020. That's just my guess right there. But anyways, thank you guys for watching once again. Comment down below your thoughts about Game of Thrones being on hold, and go ahead and just do that. Like the video if you guys did enjoy, and subscribe for more Game of Thrones content on the channel. I'm InfernoKun, and I'll catch you guys next time on Game of Thrones. I have a Discord server now, so if you want to chat with me and fellow people, link is in the description.